Okay, guys, we've got Cal football head coach Justin Wilcox here for you today. He'll start today's media availability with a comment.
Hi, everyone. Obviously, disappointing day for us. I'm sick for our players and feel for them. I feel for the guys at Washington. Everybody was looking forward to this game. Everybody's really excited to play. It's a tough pill to swallow, quite honestly. We take the virus seriously and have done so for 7 months. We built a plan with the help of our administration and our university on how we were going to practice to mitigate meetings, eat, work out in order to mitigate risk. And the guidelines given to us by the state of California and our local public health authorities, we built that plan out with a lot of help from a lot of people, and our players done an awesome job following it. And unfortunately, we had one positive test, and the one positive test resulted in several players being held out due to contact tracing that's done by the local public health office. And among that, several players was an entire position group, which made it impossible for us to play a game tomorrow. We'll remain hopeful that we get some more clarity going into next week regarding that group of players. And, we'll continue to work through this, knowing that there's going to be we knew coming in, there's going to be some potholes along the way. But as I mentioned before, it's a tough one to swallow. We knew at some point it's likely that we would have a positive test, which we do. And thankfully he's doing well. And asymptomatic, but again, we were looking forward to having those contact trace players come back, especially since they have been continuing to test negative. But we learned today that wasn't going to be possible. So again, I feel for our players who've worked really hard to get to this point. And I know people are going through things throughout the country dealing with all this, but I really feel for those guys, and heck, the same for Washington, because everybody wants to play and compete and done a lot of work to get to this point. So not able to do it tomorrow. So we're holding out hope for next week, and we'll be ready to get back at it tomorrow. So.
Hey guys, with that, we'll go to the question portion. We'll start with Jeff Ferrato from SI.
Justin, you made reference to the fact that you weren't able to go because the entire position group was in quarantine for the contact tracing. Are none of those players are positive? Is that correct? And are they going to be required to remain in quarantine for up to 14 days? Or what's your understanding of the timetable for when they might be able to join you again?
I wish I knew the answer to that, Jeff. That's determined by the local public health office, not me, not our trainers and doctors, not Cal. So that's determined through the contact tracing of the local public health office, which is not affiliated with the university. So I wish I had the answer to that. We were hopeful, as I mentioned, that entire group would be able to rejoin us this week so we could play, especially since they had been testing negative, and they were daily testing antigen and then doing the twice a week PCR. Unfortunately, we learned today that they weren't going to be allowed. So,
and that's simply because they're still in the quarantine period, not because they did anything other than test negative, right?
Yeah, they were contact traced through the public health office and told to go into quarantine. Okay, that's what they were told to do, and that's all they've been given as of today. Again, we are hopeful because of this. Again, we built this entire process with the help of our sports med staff and our university around the guidelines that we had coming in from the state and the local public health authority to mitigate A, the risk in the virus, which we all take seriously, and B, the contact tracing. So when they walk to the stadium, there's dots that they stand on before they get their test. When we have meetings, we're in the concourse and they sit 6 feet apart. When they go to the field, they don't go to the locker room, so they have their pads on the side. We don't have shared water bottles. So there's all these steps that have been taken based on the guidelines given by the state and local public health authority to mitigate the risk and also the contact tracing element. And unfortunately, that wasn't quite enough. So we will wait to hear more either tomorrow or through the weekend based on their availability moving forward. So,
If I can ask you one follow-up question, have you had a chance to talk with all of your players yet in a group setting, and what is generally their reaction to this?
yeah, we spoke right before the announcement went out. When you go to practice yesterday and there's an entire position group missing, they know we had a meeting yesterday before practice to kind of fill them in on what was happening. As I mentioned, we were hopeful because of the group was testing negative and the processes that were in place that they would be cleared to return. We were ready to, as late as Friday or Saturday just to get the group back and playing. So they knew something was happening. So we talked them through that. And then today, when we were told that they wouldn't be able to come back, we had a team Zoom and let them know. And they're upset. They want to play. We all want to play. Think about the coaches. We get to do this is our profession, and I hope to get to coach a long time. Players have a limited number of opportunities to play the game, and certainly people throughout the country are dealing with a lot. We know that, and we are fortunate to be here. So we don't take that lightly. But there's also a heavy investment that these guys make, day in and day out, in order to do this and have these limited number of chances. So you really just feel for them, and they were hurt by it, but they'll be back. And we got a resilient group of guys, and we'll be back ready to get going as soon as we can.
Thank
Hey
you.
guys, we'll move on to Trace Travers from Rivals.
Yeah, you kind of, I guess, touched on it with Jeff a little bit, but is this something where you could work with the local public health authorities as far as the 14-day period for the needed for contact tracing, or is that still something that's up in the air?
In terms of what we've asked is for the criteria. How can we do this the best to give us the best opportunity to mitigate the risk and reduce the contact tracing if and when we have a positive? Because the odds are that most institutions and football teams, you have enough people that there very well could be a positive at some point. So everything was built with that in mind. And if there's new information, we would love to have it. We'll take anything, any type of new information, new recommendations, and implement them, because when we built this whole thing, we took the guidelines and then did more, just to try and protect us from moments like this, protect the players. So anything that comes out, we'll absolutely grab onto that and use that, but it needs to be communicated. In terms of us communicating with them on 14 days, the public health office is not asking me if I think the guy should be in 14-day quarantine or not. I'm not qualified. However, I think the frustrating part is you see the differences throughout the country throughout the state and the country on how these contact tracing processes are taking place. I think that's where the players especially can get a little bit frustrated, as you can imagine, that there's no consistency there. So I'm not saying I have the better way. We're all just looking for the best way and some consistency, and we'll do exactly that. We'll follow directions, but we tried to do that, and unfortunately wasn't quite good enough to get us ready for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to Jasper Sundin from the Daily Cow.
Hey, Coach. I know this is a bit premature in your. Excuse me. Sorry. I know this is a bit premature in your focus. Is not maybe down the road, but does this change at all your expectations for the season? What this season looks like?
Zoom call at 4:20.
No, I think we're, we got such a short-term and narrow focus right now. We got to work through today, and everybody's got to kind of make their peace with this, and then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll send them a schedule, and then we'll start preparing. We'll have a practice tomorrow, probably going to get some work for some of the younger guys, developmental, and then we'll start preparing on Monday for Arizona State. And between now and then, if we get some news one way or the other, we'll adjust accordingly. But, to look, based on what's happened here in the last 2 days, to look 5 and 6 weeks down the road, probably a little too far. We got a bunch of guys who are hungry to play, and we want to make sure we give them every opportunity to do that. And that's our focus.
Absolutely. And then can you comment at all on the likelihood of that Arizona State game?
I wish I knew. Again, this is not a Cal football. This is not my decision. It's not Cal football. It's certainly not our players' decision. It'll be determined through the public health office of Berkeley and the contact tracing. And if we're allowed to have, if those players who are negative are allowed to come back and join us.
Okay, we'll move on to Rusty Simmons from the Chronicle.
Coach, this may be too specific with privacy laws, but can you tell us the position group that's mainly affected here?
Technically, I can't. You could probably figure it out. It's one that you can't play a game without, I should say. I mean, we had 0 players at a position group that, there's certain positions where you can make adjustments. And I think Jake was asking me yesterday and probably getting frustrated with me about that. But there's a couple position groups you can't. We had 0 at practice for the last 3 days, and it wasn't feasible to put a team out there. If it was, certain positions where you could kind of sub guys from others, we would have done that absolutely, but it wasn't.
And I was going to also ask about how the Pac-12 gets involved or how that process goes. In their statement, they said they approved a request from Cal to cancel the game. Can you put any light on that, how that works?
Yeah, we didn't request to cancel the game. We weren't able to play the game. I mean, maybe that's what the paperwork says. Nobody here woke up this morning, hoping not to play. I think that's probably poor choice of words. The contact tracing eliminated a lot of players and an entire position group. So it was not going to be feasible. So whatever the paperwork says, that's fine. But nobody woke up to, deciding whether we wanted to or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I may be being redundant here, but have the local health officials given you any path back to playing? Are there any lines there that you can lead?
We're open to any and all recommendations. Again, we built the entire process of this season on those guidelines. They talk to our administration, and there's a representative at the university that talks to the local public health office. They don't talk to the football program. I think they have a big picture focus, which we totally understand. Absolutely. They're looking out for the greater good. And, but they have a contact within the university, which kind of goes through some channels down to us. And that's how that communication works.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to John Branch from the New York Times.
Hey, Justin, what's your understanding of what constitutes contact? I mean, is this just a position group, or is this spread into other position groups and coaches and so on?
Well, I think that's where it gets a little bit frustrating at times, because the criteria we were given, we set up protection against in terms of masks and social distance and meetings, understanding when you go to practice, for example, there's going to be contact between players. There are times when players are going to have contact. That's football practice. But we went to lengths, even, we limited the number of minutes an offensive and defensive lineman, for example, would be going up against each other, because we were told there is a criteria that would say that's a high risk contact after 10 minutes of continuous exposure. So we built things with that in mind: position drills, team drills. So again, that's where I think part of this is tough to swallow because we tried to do the players and our athletic department, coaches, everybody tried to do the best we can with the information we had. And it unfortunately didn't quite do the job because they still were contact traced. But I couldn't, they don't, like I said, they don't talk to us about those specific scenarios. I think they treat them one by one. It's what it seems to me. Again,
So I
you
guess
have to
my,
ask them.
I guess my bigger question is how many people are caught up in this, and does it contain more than just a position group, including coaches?
It does. Again, I've been asked not to give specific numbers, but it's there are more people involved. Again, we're really fortunate right now that we have just one, and he's doing well. That's been tested positive. We will continue with our daily antigen testing and our weekly PCR testing for coaches, players, everybody that's in the program here, so we can continue to mitigate the risk. But it did, the contact tracing when they executed that was more than just that group.
And one other quick thing is, I know you guys have tried to be airtight on this. Is there anything to learn going forward? I don't know if you know exactly how this happened. I'm not trying to assess blame on anybody who may have tested positive, but can you figure out what happened and anything to learn from it?
Well, I mean, the virus, where it started, we don't exactly know in terms of where that person was exposed. Again, we're fortunate right now at one person and everybody else is testing negative. I will say it's, the players especially and coaches and staff have done it. Everything as best they could in terms of following the recommendations that we were given. And are we perfect? I don't know that anybody out there is perfect all the time, but man, if you could hear the players at practice after practice when the seniors and juniors address the team and just not only the coaches, but pleading with their teammates, hey, follow the guidelines. I got only so many chances. Like they're trying to do it all right, so we're all doing that. And we are at any moment, if there's a piece of information or a guideline that the state or the local public health office gives us, we're going to institute that immediately. And we've done that. Again, that's why we built this whole thing we did like we did. And if there's better ways, that's the first thing we ask. What else can we do? How else can we do this better so it doesn't happen again? I mean, it's the first thing you go through. So I haven't got any feedback on that yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move to Emily Oman from the Daily Cow.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for taking the time. So we've seen some players express their frustration on social media today. Are you concerned at all that this incident will affect team chemistry once you guys return to play?
Did you say affect team chemistry?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. I don't. They are frustrated. I don't blame them. But we knew that there would be potholes coming into the season and things we got to navigate. And I expect them to work through this today and be back at it tomorrow. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't, got my blood boiling a little bit. And it's all, you want these guys who work really hard to have a chance to go compete. That's why everybody puts so much time in. And we respect the virus and the seriousness of it. But they've done a really good job trying to do everything we've asked them to do, that the institutions asked them to do. And we thought that the state and public health office was asking them to do. So when the game gets taken away from you, that could be an emotional moment. So I expect them to come back tomorrow and ready to get back to work.
Okay, Stuart Mandel from The Athletic.
I think you're muted, Stuart.
Justin, have you talked to colleagues at other schools in other parts of the country about how contact tracing works for them? And because it sounds like what you're saying, maybe the standard that they're holding your guys to might be different than maybe what is on par for the course for college football.
I have talked to a number of them, some in conference, some out of conference. And absolutely agree that there are different interpretations of contact tracing throughout the country, and potentially within each state. That's what I've gleaned from those conversations. But we'll see. I could be off on that, but I know from state to state it changes certainly, and it's possible that it could be different within a given state.
Okay, Stuart, anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go back to Rusty Simmons from the Chronicle.
Coach, I'm sure you're thinking about every contingency plan possible. Have you guys thought about moving out of Berkeley, out of Alameda County, playing somewhere else?
Yeah, Rusty, that's a good question. And I don't know if any of you remember back in, might have been early April or one of the first times we got together, those questions were raised and we discussed that. It's been brought up a number of times throughout the past 7 months. It's been brought up again recently. We're open to doing whatever we can do so our players we protect our players and they have an opportunity to play. And I don't know if that's an option currently. That would be one for our athletic director and the chancellor. That's not a decision that I would make. I would have an opinion on it, but that's not for me to make. So I'll defer to them there.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on back to Jeff Ferrata.
Yeah, sort of on that same topic, Justin, does it matter that you're scheduled to play a road game next week? And does the local health folks still have sway over you if you're playing a game in Tempe, Arizona?
My understanding was yesterday that if a person was put into quarantine or contact tracing here, that they wouldn't just allow them to pick up and go. They have to stay in their, apartment, house, whatever. So that's what I was told yesterday through the channels. But in terms of, do you mean a away game just for being able to, get the guys back? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, would you be able to play a game on the road that you couldn't play at home?
Not right now. Not if these contact trace guys stay in contact tracing and aren't able to, with their testing and be able to come out of it, then I understand it that they would be in isolation. So
Understood.
we're waiting for clarity. Again, that's something that I can't answer. That's going to be for public health.
Okay. See no more in the queue. If you do have something, I'll give you about 3 seconds here. Please do it quickly if you do have anything else for Coach. Jake Curtis, looks like you have another question for Coach. Go ahead.
Yeah, just for clarity's sake, and maybe you don't know the answer to this. When you say the local, that's Berkeley, not Alameda County?
Yeah, most places it's the county. Here in Berkeley, it's the city of Berkeley has a public health office.
Okay. And is there a date by which you would have to find out about this? I mean, you can't go all the way up until next Friday without knowing about whether you were cleared to play on Saturday.
I agree with you there. And we would hope to know sometime between tomorrow and Monday, but we do not have an answer on that yet.
And they haven't given you any indication that you'll know by X day or anything?
They were in discussions. I don't want to speculate, but I think it was made known that we would need to know, this weekend or at the latest on Monday in order to move forward appropriately.
Okay, thanks.
Hey guys, I think we are finished here. Thank you everybody for joining us and thanks for your time, Coach.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Justin.
Take care.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Thank you.